off a bye. They had the loss to Penn State last time out where they looked really good in that first series. Offensively, marched right down the field. And then after that, didn't score again, had a red zone fizzle out that I think ultimately is where the game turned. Now they had a week to kind of figure things out. They take on a Purdue team that, as we said, limps into this one. What are you expecting to see from Brett Bielema's team?
What I want to see is an improvement in the run game. And there was, when we talk about offseason questions, hey, Altmaier, can he improve? Yes, he has, and they've been able to protect him a little bit better this year. The defense has been opportunistic and disruptive in forcing turnovers and negative plays. But for Brett Bielema, you've got to be able to run the ball. And right now, they're 14th in yards per game in the conference, 16th in yards per attempt, and they only have 4 rushing touchdowns on the season, which is second fewest in the conference. They have about 80% of it right now. Altmaier, at times, we were wondering if he's the best quarterback in the conference. Franklin, Pat Bryant, a lot of teams would love that to have that duo out on the edge. But you have to be complementary to win in this conference. They got to find a way to run the ball.
And the offensive line really looked overwhelmed against Penn State. They gave up 7 sacks in that game. Again, now they get a Purdue team. I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but they get a Purdue team that isn't playing well. How do you handle this if you're Ryan Walters? Because I think it's one thing to lose a game like they did against Nebraska, where the offense struggled, but the defense showed some signs of life. It was a shutout at halftime before Nebraska kind of piled it on in the second half. It's one thing to play a game like that. It's fully another to play a game like they did against Wisconsin or even like they did against Notre Dame. He seemed to get him back just a little bit after the Notre Dame game, and they played a little bit better the next couple weeks. But man, this is bad. And so what do? How do you get him back?
You know, they've been punched and beaten and battered, and it sucks to lose in football, and it sucks to lose the way that they did versus Wisconsin last week. I think the message for Coach Walters is football is going to be hard whether you're winning and losing. It's going to be hard regardless. It's 365 days. You work every single day for 12 guaranteed opportunities. You know, that's what's beautiful about this sport is every game matters because there's so few games. So I think for Coach Walters, and he's saying this about himself too. Like he said that in his post-game presser for Wisconsin. Like he's got to be better. Yeah. For these guys, the message is, guys, it's going to be hard anyways. We have to practice anyways. We have to meet anyways. We have to play on the weekend anyways. Why not leave it all on the field? Why not play as hard as we possibly can for these next 60 minutes, and let's just see what happens. Results aside, let's see what happens when we play to our absolute maximum intense energy potential.
And when these two teams got together last year, Purdue didn't just win the game, they won the game handily. So maybe you can lean on that a little bit and say, hey, this is what we did against these guys a year ago. I realize there's a ton of turnover, and that's what's weird, I think, in this day and age, and different even from when you played, which is just not that long ago. Yeah. But in some ways, it feels like an eternity because it's so different, because the nature of the game is there's a lot more turnover on these rosters.
Hudson Card is still really talented. I mean, He was honorable mention that dude is talented. Devin Mockabee plays his absolute heart out. That dude plays as hard as anyone in the conference. Max Clare has been one of the more productive tight ends. They're getting healthy with Jamal Edgerrin at wide. Like, they're not as bad as what these results have shown. I do not believe that. But now they got to play as a team, all 3 phases, special teams, penalties. The first step is to start to get rid of some of these self-inflicted wounds. They're beating themselves before the opponent is.
Right. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, you're literally placed with multiple separate penalties.
What can you do?
On the same play. There is a lot of beating themselves to it. I'm going to be fascinated to see how they come out because I'm with you. When we were at preseason practice, they held a lot of guys out. They did a scrimmage, so it was hard to gauge in some ways. But it feels like there's more talent out there than we have kind of seen manifest itself in results.
Yes.
And to your point, guys have to look inside, and we'll see what happens in a game that is a rivalry